everyone, and welcome. I'm really glad you're here tonight. My name is Scott Harker, and I'm a certified gut health specialist, and I work with men and women who struggle with low energy, gut issues, inflammation, and blood sugar imbalances. And we're just really glad you're here tonight. You can be somewhere else instead of on here, and I think tonight you're really going to enjoy it. I'm blessed tonight to be joined by three people who have extraordinary health transformational stories from a protocol that we all use, and I can't wait for them to share tonight. I want to introduce them to you. Alan Kashner, down on the lower left on the screen, probably for everyone. And then Rob Pignelli. And then hopefully I got your name right, close. We'll get it. And then Bob Huntiga. Okay. And so we're just really glad you're here tonight. If you've been dealing with stubborn weight gain, brain fog, fatigue, high blood pressure, inflammation, or blood sugar swings, maybe gut issues, and felt like nothing has worked for you, what we're about to share with you tonight, I think, is going to completely shift your mind and your perspective about it. In fact, I would like you to take a minute, if you could, to just, if you're on Facebook tonight, tag somebody that may have those issues. It's going to be really important maybe to add them. Also, give them a text and have them join. We would love to have them on here tonight so they could hear these stories and for us to share about the protocol that we all have used. So let me go ahead and get going here. If I can get my slide to work. There we go. So I want to do something a little bit different, and maybe you've not heard before, but I want you to think about yourself in the middle of this wheel here a minute, and think about those things that I mentioned earlier. Some of those are around this circle, but have you got any of these? Are you experiencing maybe mood swings, low energy, crashes in the afternoon? Maybe you have, you're dealing with a belly fat or obesity or type 2 diabetes or blood sugar, IBS, Crohn's disease, ulcerative colitis, high blood pressure, right? There is something in common with every one of these. And if you know, there's a doctor really for each and every one of these on the screen tonight almost. You've got heart doctors, you got neurologists, you got nephrologists, right? But there's a common thing between them, a root cause, and they're all connected, and that's called insulin resistance. Tonight is not about willpower. It's not about laziness. This is about a hormone called insulin, and once you understand what we're going to share with you tonight, I think things are going to really start to make sense. But before we talk about insulin resistance, we need to understand what insulin really is and understand what it does. So first, there's this small organ behind your stomach, and it's called the pancreas. It's not very big, but it has a massive job and so important for our energy and our life. And every time you eat it, basically there's this insulin response. The pancreas senses that rise of sugar that gets released into your body, and it releases insulin. And so insulin is a hormone that is produced by the pancreas that acts like a key to unlock your cells so sugar can enter and be used for energy. So basically it helps your cells get fed, okay? And insulin is necessary, and without insulin, you cannot fuel your cells. Kind of to think about this for a minute. If you've ever felt maybe weak after eating or having crashes in the morning or crashes in the afternoon after you've eaten, that likely is a result of how well or how your insulin is working. The problem isn't really insulin. The problem is it acts as a key, and that key stops working properly. And so that's insulin resistance. So I want to show you. Hey guys, I'm getting some feedback. Do you guys hear that feedback on there? Yeah. So if one of you got another device on, please turn that down while we're on here.
Maybe it's volume off on the second device.
Feedback.
I've been on mute here. What too? If we just to get
okay. So maybe it's just some feedback on my side. I'm not sure. It's okay. Very good. Well, anyway, for the folks watching here, just kind of want to explain a little bit more about insulin resistance. On the left side of your screen, you see this green healthy cell, right? And when insulin's working right and the key goes into the receptor and opens it up, the sugar can go, or the glucose can go into the cell, and energy is produced, and you have stable blood sugar and you have good energy. But when we're insulin resistant, the key goes in, but it doesn't open up the door all the way, and the sugar really doesn't get into the glucose, doesn't get into the cell. So that signal is blocked. Glucose stays high in the blood, gets stored as fat and inflammation, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. But our cell feels low energy because really our cells are starving. And so that's really what insulin resistance is that your cells aren't able to get the glucose to be fed properly anymore, to be able to feed it. And then basically they're starving. And that causes all these different symptoms that we showed earlier to you tonight. But tonight we're going to be talking about a protocol that helps us to heal from the inside and to help us overcome insulin resistance. And one little misnomer I want to make certain that you're hearing tonight is that when we talk about insulin resistant, that doesn't mean necessarily a person's diabetic. We can be insulin resistant 5, 10, 15, 20, even 30 years before we even develop diabetes. And it can cause all these other things. And so tonight, we'll be sharing a little bit more about the science behind it. But what I really want to do is take an opportunity to share for a moment and have Alan Kashner share with us about the protocol in terms of what it did for he and his family, and what it looked like to be when he was insulin resistant and now as he shifted over to insulin sensitivity.
Yeah, you bet. We still got some of that echoing going on for sure.
Yeah, I'm gonna try to turn this down. I don't know why it's on my end, so I'm gonna try to fix
Got a
that.
second device, turn the volume down. But yeah, I was in a bad spot before I ran into this protocol. I mean, if you back up, I mean, I became diabetic when I was 40 years old, and they put me on a med, and I was kind of freaked out about the whole thing. But boy, it seemed like, you know, the med was taking care of everything, and I could just keep going through life like I've always done, not in a very good way. And you know, you fast forward to my mid 50s. I mean, I ballooned up to 360 pounds. I was on 4 different diabetes meds, and my A1C was still too high. I had fatty liver. I mean, I was on cholesterol med, acid reflux med, you know, high blood pressure med. I mean, just a picture of health. And my doctor, you know, I ran into this around 60, at 60 years old, but my doctor before this was just hounding me about having, you know, bariatric surgery where they cut away 3/4 of your stomach and sew it back together. And I'm like, I heard horror stories about that too. And I'm like, no, I'm going to figure this out, you know. And like a lot of us, I went diet to diet to diet, just praying that that next one would work. And it didn't. You know, sometimes I lose a little bit and you gain it back, you know, but I mean, I I had gotten down to 320 from the 360, but I could not, no matter what I did, I could not get below 320. This is after I ran into the protocol, the picture up now. But so, you know, I didn't realize at that time that, like Scott was kind of showing the deal, is when your insulin levels are high, it's telling your body to store fat, don't burn it. Good luck trying to diet or exercise when your insulin levels are high and you're in fat storage mode. You cannot get over to fat burning mode. I get a lot of questions about, you know, well, what's the best diet? There's a lot of great diets as long as it's lower on carb and sugar. There's great ones, but you got to get your insulin levels low. And I didn't understand that. So, you know, he kept after me, and I'm like, I'm gonna figure this out. But I got to the point where I figured I am just gonna die young. There's not a dang thing that I could do about it. I tried everything. And, you know, I prayed for a solution because I didn't have one. And that's when my friend John ended up getting a hold of me, and he had a lot of issues too, but he ran into this, and he was only a week or so into this, but I mean, he was already getting some results. And I'm like, all right, my wife and I figured we're going to jump on this. We're just going to prove it wrong. Cause why would this 101st thing work when the other 100 didn't work? Right. So I was definitely a skeptic, but oh my gosh. I was able to get off all 4 diabetes meds, and I'm now in non-diabetic range. I was able to reverse my fatty liver. I got off my cholesterol med. I got off my acid reflux med. And when I fixed the things that we'll be talking about here, with this natural health protocol, I lost 72 pounds, like you seen in that picture. I couldn't do that for a decade, and all of a sudden, I got into fat burning mode and boom. This stuff was falling off of me. And it just makes such a difference if you get certain things lined up that we'll be talking about. So my wife, she got on this also, and she lost 38 pounds. But the key thing for her is she had kidney disease stage 3A. I don't know if everyone on here understands the scale of that, but it's a scale of 1 to 5, where 5 is, I'm sorry, 1 to 5, where 5 is kidney failure and dialysis. You don't want to be at 5, right? So she's 3/5 of the way down that scale for the last 3 years. Wasn't even expecting this, but 7 weeks after starting this protocol, she happens to have an appointment with her kidney specialist. They do all their testing and everything, and the specialist says, I don't know what you're doing, but you virtually no longer have kidney disease. She she's had 4 or 5 different checkups over the last 3 years, no kidney disease. Guys, we can impact so many things by tweaking, a couple things during the day, using a couple tools, and really straighten things around. I'm definitely a believer.
Yeah, that's awesome, Alan. Your story inspires me every time I hear it. Alan, why do you think so many people are having issues today? What's you and I talked, and we both have mentioned insulin resistance and why it's important and what it's causing. But why are so many people insulin resistant? What's going on? What do you think?
Well, there's a great book by Ben Bickman called Why Are We All Getting Sick, or something like that. That's the title. But
Yeah.
I've read a lot since then. I didn't know this back then, but from all the different reading, there's three things that I typically point out. Number one, the food industry is adding sugar by 100 different names into our food. And you can look at a label and you might see 3, 4 of them, but you don't even recognize them. If they had to say sugar, it'd probably be up toward the number 1 or 2 slot. And sugar is not good. And then, number two, the food industry is stripping the fiber out of our food, the protective fiber out of our food. You take bread, for instance, or like wheat. They strip out the bran fiber, and we're left with stuff like white bread, or anything with flour and starch that just spikes the heck out of our glucose. You look at an apple. God wrapped it in protective fiber, but they strip it all out, and we're left with sugar water. I mean, diabetes in the glass. I mean, apple juice. It's really not good. And we're giving this stuff in these fancy cartoon boxes to our kids, right? That's why there's a lot of people, a lot of younger kids are insulin resistant now. It's getting younger and younger all the time. Third thing I usually point out is, I think everybody remembers the old food pyramid. They're recommending at that bottom layer that you eat 6 to 11 carbs per day. It just turns into sugar. And then really limit the fat. We need good, healthy fat. You just got to make sure you understand what's healthy fat. Stay away from seed oils. There's a lot of different things that, highly processed food is really wrecking us. So now
Yeah.
the result of those three things, I think is important. Today, only 5% of us get the appropriate amount of fiber. And I didn't mention, but fiber, helps lower your triglycerides, lowers your glucose and insulin spikes. We want to keep our insulin levels low. It feeds the healthy bacteria in your gut. It helps you feel full and satiated so you don't overeat. There's a whole bunch of protective things that fiber does, and they're stripping that stuff out. So we only 5% of us today get the appropriate amount of fiber, and only 7% of us are metabolically healthy today. Those are just radically low numbers. And that's why I believe a lot of us are all getting sick. And you can read it in many, many different books. But
Yeah. Yeah. All, just so many people are sick, and it's really what we put in our mouth, right? And can be
yep,
prevented by a lot of what we do in terms of what we eat. And we'll talk a little bit more about the gut in a little bit, because that is so important about how we can turn our gut around. And when we do that, will become more insulin sensitive. One of the things I just want to show up here on the screen a little bit is, as you keyed in on, Alan, is this timing, right? About when we eat and how important it was. And I kind of mentioned that earlier. But all of us, or at least many of us, and I know we've talked about this before, but many of us have heard that you should eat 6 to 8 small meals a day, right? To keep your metabolism going, right? And but what Alan was saying earlier was, is every time you eat something small, our insulin rises. And that's normal. But here's the problem. Every time when we eat breakfast, we get an insulin spike. Then we do a snack in the morning, we get a spike. And then we do lunch, we get a spike. And then we eat dinner and we get a spike. And then we do after dinner, we do an evening snack and we get a spike. And if that insulin stays elevated, your body never switches out of that storage mode. Your body never, ever gets a chance to rest. And so that's why we never are able to get into a fat burning type of mode, right? And so what we really need to do, those peaks that you see there on the screen, we've got to stretch those out and give our insulin time to come down so that our body rests, so that we can get into a fat burning into mode. And that is so, so important for us. And we'll talk a little bit about how this protocol that we've used and been life changing for us, how it will help us do that. So let me go on to the next person. Robert, tonight's the first night I've gotten to really meet you and to hear your testimony. So I'm excited about that. Why don't you just take us through a little bit about, spend some time explaining how the protocols helped you, what life looked like before the protocol, and then life after the protocol. What that looked like?
Sure. I am 50 years old, probably been struggling with diabetes for, let's say, 20 plus years. And anyone who knows me knows I am anti big pharma. I've stayed away from pharmaceuticals as much as I could. And then recently, my A1C kept getting worse and worse. My blood sugar, I couldn't control it. No matter how low carb I was, no matter how much I exercised after I ate, nothing was working. I was literally at my wit's end. I was probably a few weeks away from going to the doctor and saying, "All right, I'm ready to try insulin," because I just couldn't keep the numbers that high any longer. And honestly, by the grace of God, somehow Bob had my email address, and from an order that I had placed probably years ago, and he was excited about this product, and he sent it out probably to everybody. I kind of breezed over it the first time. I did read it, but I'm like, oh, just another product. I've literally tried everything. I'm not even exaggerating. Came across it again, or he sent a second email. I'm not sure, but I'm like, I clicked on the links. I watched one of the science videos, and I'm like, this sounds interesting. I haven't really tried this approach, so I ordered the product, got on it right away. I started it was like February 12th, so I'm on my 9th week. And I can say within 2 weeks, I was certain this was working for me. Something was changing. I was able to eat a dinner and not have a blood sugar over 250, and I was able to go for a walk and watch it come down like a normal person, or a somewhat normal person, and it's only gotten better since. I can say confidently that my A1C in November was 8.2. I had it rechecked in sometime in March. I was only on the product for like 3 or 4 weeks at that time, and it had already come down to an 8. My cholesterol was already improving, even though it wasn't really terrible, but it was better than it was in November. I've lost about a pound a week since I've started it. And right now I'm like, I literally can eat, go for a 20-minute walk, and my blood sugar is, under 110, which I can't remember the last time I saw 110.
Awesome.
Blood sugar reading. So it's like I'm excited to get my lab work done again. I think it's early July or late June. I can go again and do that. But yeah, it's been a life-saving miracle for me for sure. And there's no doubt in my mind that the product is 100% responsible.
Awesome. That's
And Bob,
that's
I've never
really,
said thank you, but thank you.
wow.
So yeah, I mean that's the gist of my story.
Yeah, that's really really awesome. That's incredible. I mean, in that short a period of time, starting to see that type of impact and impact on how you feel, right, and showing hope after you've tried many. We you know, with my clients, I hear that a lot of different protocols or different things they've tried, and they haven't seen, you know, results this quick, or they really haven't seen any impact with a lot of different things. And so to see how that works that quickly and to get those blood sugar levels down to where that is just absolutely awesome. So that's really really exciting.
I'll add that I'm probably eating more now than I was before because I'm focusing so much on getting in, like trying to get in at least 75 grams of protein per meal. So I'm eating a lot. So I'm not starving myself. I just limit it to the 2 meals, get the exercise in. I'm not exercising any more than I was before. If anything, I'm exercising way less and getting better results. So
Mm,
it's definitely healing from the inside for sure.
yeah. Yeah. And one of the things is, if you're on here tonight and you just heard Rob say that he may be eating more, right? One of the things that, as I showed that graph up there earlier, we didn't really talk about it. We'll talk a little bit about it when we talk about time-based eating here in a minute. But it's really about when you eat your food and the window at which you eat your food, not necessarily about how much you eat. Now, you can, of course, overeat, but it's really about when you eat and how much time you rest to allow your body to get into fat burning mode. So that's really, really critical. I hear that a lot, Robert. And where you see that is it's you can actually eat more, but then also the types of food you're talking about, prioritizing protein and fiber and healthy fats. That really goes back to Alan, that food pyramid, right? Flipping that food pyramid upside down and prioritizing fiber, protein, healthy fats, then your carbs. And then when you eat carbs, pair your protein or pair protein with your carbs to be able to help keep that insulin response down. So that's really, really critical. All right, let's go to Bob. I'm going to unmute you. I was getting some feedback there. Hopefully we'll be, oops, got the wrong slide here. Just a moment. Let me bring this back up, get your slide here on my end. And let's share. Going to try here. I'm having a little bit of technical difficulty. Let me unmute you here, Bob, just a second, because I was getting some feedback on you. Let's try that now. So, want to introduce Bob Hunt again. I got to meet Bob. Bob, if you got another device on the background that's open, make sure that is turned out, because that's where my
hold on just a second.
so that's where my feedback is coming here from. Yeah, so I'm going to just kind of talk about Bob here and why he's doing whatever he's doing. But Bob, I'm really excited to have him come here tonight and speak with us. Bob's a physician's assistant, and he's been a physician's assistant for over 50 years. And for the past 25 years, he's been deeply involved in integrative medicine, helping people look beyond just symptoms and started in addressing the root causes. And he and his wife also found and ran a health store alongside his clinical work. And so Bob has come across this protocol, I think, in the last several months, and has started using this with his clients and he and his family, and wanted to have him on tonight to share his story and what that looked like for him. So, Bob, if you could just share with us about the protocol, what it looks like for you guys, and what it's meant to you.
All right.
You can also share any of your imparted wisdom up on all of us as your 50 years of experience in integrative medicine and being a physician's assistant. So we'd love to hear whatever you got to add tonight. So
I always considered myself to be healthy. I've always been thin, but I also always had a big belly. And I've had a birth defect on my low back, so I've had back pain for most of my life. And I also had a lot of acid reflux and also had developed an esophageal stricture. And what that means was I would have to cut my food up really small, chew it really good to keep it from getting stuck. I had to have a stretching procedure once that helped, but it only lasted for about 3 months. And but many times in the last 5 or 6 years, I had food get stuck, and it really was actually a little made me nervous every time I ate. But anyway, in August, I developed a little groin hernia, and when I went in for a pre-op, uh, I had high blood pressure, and I was just shocked. I never had high blood pressure. And about that same time, I got a text from a young lady that I had never met, and she asked if I'd be interested in looking at a protocol to help reverse chronic illnesses. And I had just developed a chronic illness, so the timing was perfect for me. So she and one of her partners came over and they presented this to us, and I could see immediately that this was going to have benefit, not only for myself, but for a lot of people who had chronic illnesses. So we started the end of December, and within a couple of weeks, the heartburn was gone. And I started to notice that it was much easier to eat without that feeling of food might get stuck. And also within a couple of weeks, my blood pressure was normalized. So by the end of 3 weeks, 4 weeks, the stricture feelings were completely gone. The heartburn was gone. And I began to notice that the back pain was slowly subsiding. So this is a pretty amazing. And we started promoting this to former patients and people that we knew. And we've seen a tremendous amount of success. There have been a few people that have had some issues, but for the most part, everybody is changing things. In the process, I lost about 25 pounds. I just had to go to Grand Rapids today and buy some new clothes because my pants were falling off.
Awesome.
My wife also down about almost 20 pounds. She's a real small gal, but started out about 140, and she's down now to almost 120. And it's been really easy. I found that the time-based eating, so not eating breakfast, that worked out really good. We would usually have a meal 11 o'clock or so, and then again at 5. I also was a cookie monster, so I ate sweets and cookies all day long. Even in the middle of the night, if I had to get up to use the restroom, I'd grab a cookie. So I always had high blood sugar and high insulin, and that's why I had the big belly. So now I'm a skinny guy and I don't have a big belly.
Awesome.
That's awesome.
Hey, Bob, I have a question for you. You mentioned you're the cookie monster. I was the chip monster. I loved corn chips. Alan's heard that story a lot, but that's the truth. I love corn chips. How's it working for you now? Is it easy? Is it easier for you to go without craving those and
Yeah,
with the protocol?
it's quite surprising. I think about those things, but it's really easy to kind of let it pass. We've been gone for the winter, and when we got home a few days ago, there's a bowl of M&Ms on the counter, and I wasn't even tempted. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah. It's amazing what happens when our gut health gets in good shape, right? And we don't start craving those things, and then the unamate, which we'll talk about here in a minute, how it helps take that food noise away and gets rid of that food noise.
Yeah,
Because
that really
go ahead.
It really does help.
Yeah. So, Bob, I have a quick question for you. Why do you think, since you've been in the medical industry for so long, why do you think it's taken so long for the medical industry to understand about insulin resistant? Right? I mean, we've seen it for so long, and now people are really starting to come on board. Alan mentioned Dr. Ben Bickman earlier. We know we've seen Dr. Jason Fung speak. I have, and talk about how he changed his thoughts about insulin resistant and all the clinical data. Why do you think in the medical industry it's been so long for us to been able to treat this in this way and start to heal from the inside versus just using medicine that I guess band-aids it? What do you think?
Well, I think we've always known about insulin resistance. I mean, I've known about it for 25 years, but in traditional medicine and even in the integrated medicine, there aren't any tools to deal with it. And so the time-based eating is a huge part of it. And the fact that most people can't get into fat burning mode, that just creates all these issues. In my case, the esophagitis and acid reflux was because all the fat inside of my big belly was pushing up on the stomach and pushing all that acid up in there. The traditional medicine, they know about it, but they don't have any tools. And so they treat the symptoms. They treat the sugar, they treat the high blood pressure, the cholesterol, the gut problems. There's a specialist for all of those things. There's medicine for all of those things. And that's what they've been taught. And so if you don't have a tool to deal with the underlying cause, then you don't even know about it. So yeah, they know about insulin resistance, but don't have any way to deal with it.
Yeah.
And they're doing the best they can with the knowledge that they have. But you see these doctors that are getting on board with us, they're ecstatic. I retired from my office a few years ago, and this has been amazing because now I can continue to help people get rid of these problems.
Yeah, awesome.
That's
Yep,
awesome.
that's great. All right. Well, what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to take a moment and share a little bit about my story and my wife. I'm going to go ahead and share her story as well. She couldn't be here tonight, but she said I could share her story. Rob, like you, I've got somebody to thank. I've got to thank Alan on the phone here tonight, as Alan introduced me to this protocol. Alan, it's been a little over a year now. Met you in March of 25, and I actually gave my background in engineering and the way I do things. I gave him quite a hard time. I had to really dig into this protocol and understand all the patents behind it and everything. And wow, it won me over. He won me over. And then what really won me over is when we decided to use it. And you can see on here, in about 16 weeks, I lost 45 pounds. Blood pressure normalized, reducing inflammation. I feel great. I'm 52 years old. I feel as good as I did in my late 20s. I've got a lot of energy. Just feel great. I've got psoriasis, and now that hasn't went away, but it's greatly improved. We're seeing it improve slowly. And I have a history of ulcerative colitis, and my gut is so much better than it had been, and so. Just seeing great things from that. My wife, Jennifer, she was down 40 pounds in that same 16-week mark. What was really awesome for her is one of the things that we started looking for something, because in my business, working with people in gut and metabolic health, I really hadn't ran across anything that could help people with diabetes and pre-diabetes like Bob was bringing up here. And she has a history of diabetes, and her family does. And she started developing slight neuropathy in her fingers. And she hadn't been diagnosed as a diabetic, but her fasting blood sugars in the morning were in the 130s and the 40s. And what was really telling for me is within 2 weeks, those morning blood sugars were down in the high 80s and low 90s within 2 weeks. And that is really, really telling about how the protocol was working for her. The inflammation that she was having in her hands, she had been a dental assistant for many years, and her hands were starting to hurt, and that inflammation has went away. increased energy. And the other thing is back this last fall, she decided to, now what I'm getting ready to tell you, I would not recommend this to everyone, but she went cold turkey on her antidepressants she had been on for 30 plus years. And that was just so exciting for her. And you don't want to do that on a regular, you won't want to do that because there's some other side effects of doing that. So before you would, stop your medicines, make sure you work with your doctor, of course. And we're not here tonight to replace your doctor, but you can work with them as you start to, if you use this protocol, to maybe start reducing your medicines and get off of this. But this was such a big deal for her to be able to get her off of her antidepressants. And one of the things that is so important when we talk about our mood and our cognitive health is so much related to our gut, because our serotonin and our dopamine signaling comes a lot, mostly from our gut. In fact, 70% of our serotonin is produced in our gut. And Bob, can I get you to go on mute there, if you don't mind? I'm getting terrible. I'm just going to put you there for a second. Thank you. Is produced in our gut. And when our gut starts to get healthy, a lot of times our mood will get a lot better. So Alan, I just want to say thank you so much for sharing it with us. It's been life-changing to us and our family, and we've just seen it really turn us around. My daughter is using it. She's a stage 3 kidney patient. She's got a little bit different kind of damage that occurred to her. We don't ever expect it to recover like what you were talking about, Alan, because it was caused by different things at a very small age. But what we are seeing a stabilization with her, and able to, as she's becoming more metabolically healthy, it's allowing her kidneys to last longer and take that pressure off of the kidneys in terms of just, she's living healthier now, and the kidneys don't have to work as hard. So we're using it that way for her, and it's just been great. Well, let's talk a little bit about the protocol, guys, and share. We've been talking about this all evening, and we use a couple tools, and we want to share this with you. One, we've been talking all evening about fiber, and there's 2 tools that we use along with time-based eating, and we're going to talk more about those, what time-based eating is, here in a minute. But we use this fiber, and it's called Balance, and it comes in a couple different flavors. One is orange and one is a berry flavor. But Balance is designed to deliver a high functional fermentable fiber that directly feeds your gut bacteria. And that is so important because your gut relies on good bacteria. And when we get the bad bacteria more than the good bacteria, we start to cause a lot of trouble, and that's called dysbiosis. And this fermentation process that happens with the fiber, it produces these short chain fatty acids that, like butyrate, which play a key role in our metabolism, inflammation control, and the gut lining integrity, so that we don't get leaky gut, that's where a lot of our inflammation comes from. Because when we get leaky gut, all the toxins start to leak into our bloodstream, and then cause this inflammation response. And what makes Balance unique is how it interacts with glucose metabolism. And when you take these before a meal, okay, and Bob's going to take us through here in a few minutes of how you use it. It forms this gelatin-like gel-like matrix that it goes in the digestive tract, and this slows down how quickly carbohydrates are broken down and absorbed in our system. And so, instead of rapid spikes of blood sugar, what happens is, instead of those rapid spikes and that's followed by a crash, you get more of this gradual, stable response using this product. Okay. And so in practical terms, it helps curb your appetite between meals because your blood sugar stays more stable. It supports healthy cholesterol levels by reducing absorption in the gut, and it improves your digestive regularity by supporting your microbiome and the balance. And it just really, really helps us also feel more full, and helps that gut become more healthy. And you can see also on the screen here that a University of Sydney did some studies on it, and it's hard to see the graph, but it talks about it's showing how it helps control those glucose spikes, right? And then also it says at Cleveland Clinic, which is a very well-known heart hospital, it says such a product if taken regularly could reduce cardiovascular risk on a population basis and potentially decrease the need for lipid-lowering prescription drugs. So the things that like help with our cholesterol. And this was originally developed as a heart protocol that was by a Rexall drug company many years ago, right? And then they found out later this has a huge impact on our metabolic health and our insulin resistance. So this is one of the tools that we use. The next tool that we use, and if I can find my mouse here to get over to the next slide, and I'm having trouble here, see if I can get it there, is a product called Unamate. And Unamate works differently as we take this and drink this in the morning. You see, this is what you've been seeing me drink tonight. Bob and I have been drinking it. It works differently because it targets our metabolism and appetite through a plant-based compounds, especially through things like chlorogenic acid. And chlorogenic acid is a natural polyphenol, and it's been studied for its effects on glucose regulation and fat metabolism. And this helps us also slow the release of glucose into the bloodstream after we eat. And it also improves insulin sensitivity, which helps your body use energy. And we talked about that earlier tonight, more efficiently when it helps us become more insulin sensitive, right? And third, it influences our enzymes involved in fat metabolism, encouraging the body to use stored fat for fuel. And chlorogenic acid and related compounds in this help stimulate the production of our GLP-1. And so this is not a GLP-1, and you've seen this, a lot of people talk about a GLP-1, and you see it out in the medical industry where people are taking the shots. We were built with our own internal GLP-1, right? And this helps activate that and get that going in that hormone signaling to deal with fullness in the brain and that signaling, and it helps regulate that blood sugar. Okay, and so this does it in a natural way without hurting our gut, without calcium loss that happens a lot with the GLP-1s in the shot, and without muscle loss. And in fact, it supports all of those things and helps our body. So with this product, this Unamate here, you feel fuller longer, you have fewer cravings, your energy stays up, it becomes easier to go longer between meals without discomfort. So those windows or those peaks that I showed earlier tonight, we can space those out. And when Bob's having those cookie cravings or I'm having those chip cravings, right, this product helps us go and be able to go longer without doing that. Unamate isn't acting though as a stimulant, right? It's working with your metabolism and hormones to create a more stable, efficient energy system. And so these two products together, along with time-based eating, and I'm going to have you talk about how we use that along with time-based eating, AKA fasting, because I didn't really want to use the term fasting tonight because sometimes people run off when they hear that word. But this is a tool that allows us to get there and do that. So, Bob, talk to us about how we use the product, how easy it is to use, when we use it, and what we do, if you don't mind.
All right. So I usually tell people to start with a 10 or 12 hour period of time that they're not eating. So when we started, we ate our last meal about 6 p.m. and then got up in the morning, 6 or 7, and then had breakfast. And then within a few weeks, we'd moved it up because the Unamate helped get rid of any food cravings, hunger feelings. And so eventually we were having our first meal at 11 or 12 o'clock. And it really was quite amazing that the hunger Every time you felt a little hungry, you grab the Unimate bottle and just take a sip. And it really has a very good flavor anyway. I like the one that has ginger and lemon, and it's a little bit got a little bit of tartness to it. Very good flavor. And then we had lunch, and then during the afternoon, if there was any hungry or sugar cravings, every time I'd feel that or feel like I should go for a cookie, I'd take another little drink. And then we started out using the full balance at supper time or before supper. And later we switched to using a half a balance with each meal. We generally eat pretty low carb, but I kind of felt intuitively that for me and for Barb, that it was a better method. So you can change these things up a little bit. And then after supper, no more eating until the next day. So we were going 16 to 18 hours. And depending on the rate of your metabolism, if you're a slow metabolizer, you might keep burning sugar for 8 to 12 hours. So then you have to extend that fasting window longer. If you're a rapid metabolizer, you burn up your sugar and your stored sugar more quickly. And so this is why some people eliminate weight quite quickly, and others it's a little slower. But there's really no testing or any way to know, how long it's going to take. But as soon as you eat any kind of carbohydrates, the fat burning stops, and then we have our eating window in the afternoon, and the after supper, after the dinner evening meal, no more snacks. We used to eat popcorn and stuff like that while we were watching a movie. We don't do that anymore. Don't even really miss it. So it's been really quite an amazing thing. I never thought that I'd be able to go till 10 or 12 o'clock without eating, but it's been quite easy. And I would just have to say, on a professional level, this is the most important thing that I've seen in my whole career. Even doing the integrated medicine where we use herbs and homeopathy, we didn't have a tool like this. So it's pretty exciting.
It is. It is. And it's quite easy to use because you just basically have this to where we just mix in our bottle. We fill it up in the morning, put some water in our bottle, put this in, give it a shake, and sip on that throughout the morning. And like Bob was saying is that, you may not be able to start out to get to a 16-hour fast a day. Start out at 10 where you can start out and then gradually build up. And as your gut health gets better because of the fiber that you're taking, and just to say, when you take this fiber, you drink it all at one time. You don't sip on that throughout the afternoon. You drink that right before you eat, about anywhere from right before to when you eat to about 30 minutes before. We usually find with the folks that I coach, about 15 minutes before, it allows it to start to feel a little bit fuller. You eat a little bit less, but it gives it an opportunity to work. You just chug that right down, and it's a small amount of water, just a little bit in our bottle, really, about right there, and chug that. It's really tasty. It comes with a couple flavors, a berry and an orange. We carry these everywhere we go, and some people say, well, how do I do this when I go out to eat? My wife carries these in her purse. I carry these in my pocket. I carry a bottle with us. We all go into a restaurant, empty bottle in hand, ask for a glass of water with no ice, put it in here, dump our fiber, drink it right before we eat, and it is just so awesome. Or carry a bottle of water with you and put it in. It's so easy to take with you. We found that it's been about the only thing that we've ever really been able to work with and stay on, because it is so easy to use and the flavors are great. Bob, I'll have to agree with you. I love the lemon ginger. I love the spice in it. We have a lemon flavor, a lemon ginger. We also have a raspberry pomegranate flavor for the unamate. And the other thing is, if you are a person who likes a hot tea or your hot coffee in the morning, my wife does her lemon drink and the lemon ginger. She does it hot in the morning. So you can drink that hot. I would not do the fiber hot. It's kind of gross. Do that cool water. Do not do that hot. I don't know if anybody's ever done that before, but I tried it. It doesn't work. It's kind of gross. But anyway, the unamate can be done hot or cold, and some people like to do it for their tea in the morning and do it that way. So that's a little bit about how we use the product. So one of the questions is well, how do you get it, and what little bit more about it? So this product has 5 patents on it, plus I think 2 more that are pending. And I had studied these patents when we started looking at it, because I wanted to make certain the product was of good quality, it was clean. It's also in the PDR, which stands for Physician's Desk Reference. And what that means is it's in the same tool that your doctor or your pharmacist use. Bob, you could probably talk about that, but a physician goes in and they look and say, hey, how do I dose it? Are there any contraindications? Meaning, how does it work with other medications? You go right in the physician's desk reference. There are no contraindications. There's no side effects. Over 20 plus clinical studies now, and I've even seen more than that. This slide's a little outdated, of where you can see on the left side of other universities doing studies on it to show the effectiveness of it. It's safe and natural. It's guaranteed. It's got a 90-day money back guarantee, which is really important. You have to use an app that where you go in and at least half the time log in there just to show that you're using it. But at that 90 days, if you've done that and it isn't helping you, the company will refund all 90 days money back for you. And then it's also cost neutral. And what we mean by that is that you're not going and my wife and I used to get these $5-6 coffees in the morning at different places. We would eat breakfast in the morning. We would do snacking during the morning and the afternoon. And when we started looking at it, I'm kind of a budget nerd. We actually save money. In general, it's cost neutral to saving money. It's in 62 countries now or more, I think, but I know it's in 60 plus countries. And that's a big deal to be able to get into so many countries. Did I miss anything, folks? I just want to make certain I didn't miss any. But if you want to get it and interested in talking with us, trying to reach out to one of us that's on this call tonight. Reach out to, if you know Robert or Bob or Alan or myself, and you want to know more about it, find out how you get it. It is $159 a month for a subscription with no shipping costs.
Or anybody else that may have tagged you.
Yes, or anybody else. I see we've got a lot of folks on here tonight that have on there. I've been watching my phone. Yes, if there's someone else on there that tagged you, that's using this, reach out to them. And they would be so glad to share this with you about how you use it, how you get it. Is there anything else? Alan, Robert, Bob, did I miss anything? Anything else we want to cover with the folks on here tonight? Yeah, go ahead, Alan.
I would just mention, give this a 3-month adult time frame. It took me decades to mess up my body. You can't expect to fix it in a week or a month. Now, some of us do that, but everybody is different. The guy who introduced this to me, he didn't lose anything for a month, but he was on insulin shots and everything else, and now he's off all that stuff, and now he's lost 60-some pounds. But everybody's a little bit different, and give it a shot. I know I was skeptical too, but it's cost neutral, 90-day money back guarantee. What is the risk, to try this? Give it a shot. You'll be surprised, like we were.
Yeah, and I want for the folks that's on here tonight, I want you to think of it kind of this way, right? This, and you never really, while you heard us talk about we've lost weight, think about all the other things that it did for us. We really never talk about this being a weight loss protocol. What we talk about it is healing from the inside out and start to heal our body. And then that naturally you'll start to lose weight because we're healing our gut. We're becoming more insulin sensitive. And I've had a lot of clients, exactly, Alan, where I had a lady, and I've shared this before. She went 60 days and she goes, I just don't understand it. She goes, I step on the scale. I haven't lost a bit of weight, but my clothes are all fitting loose. What is going on? And I'm down 2 inches. And it's that inflammation that she's starting to lose, right? And she's, so that inflammation's got to get out of your body a lot of times and start to repair before we start to lose that weight. But she's like, I can move, I feel better. And so, yeah, give it, what we've done over our bodies over many years can't be reversed overnight. But, give it 90 days, 6 months, a year, right? Good. If you decide to get on the protocol and use it, get your blood results taken, and take your blood results and get a marker, and you'll see how it starts to impact you over time. So, anything else?
That's a good point. That's a good point I wanted to mention is, give this a 3-month adult time frame, 2.5 months in, ahead of time, line up your blood work 2.5 months in, and you will see the result. Are we still there? Okay.
Yeah,
so we blipped for a second.
There you go. Yep, go ahead, Alan.
In 2.5 months, I was able to get off 2 of my diabetes meds and my cholesterol med. And I had lost 25 pounds by that time. My triglycerides dropped from 166 down to 98. You'll see a big difference. My fatty liver reversed in that 2.5 months. That just, you can gauge it.
All right. Has anybody got anything else? Thank you, Alan, for sharing that. That's really important. Anybody got anything else?
I was just going to say about the fiber. When I started as a PA in 1976, we were using fiber products to treat high cholesterol. And then as soon as the statins were introduced, all the fiber disappeared. And also about that time frame when we really started to see an increase in a lot of these chronic diseases.
Yeah. Couldn't make any money off that fiber. Right? So those drugs, right? Well, folks, thank you for joining us tonight. Alan, Rob, and Bob, thank you so much for joining. I really appreciate your testimonies and sharing with us tonight and sharing your knowledge. Folks, I believe our body was designed to heal. It was designed to function in balance. And, the good news is those things that we talked about right at the top of the hour. If you're dealing with any of those symptoms, you don't have to stay stuck. You don't have to manage those symptoms. You can actually start to heal from the inside out. So give this a shot. Reach out to one of us or someone that tagged you online tonight. We'd love to help you. This has become our passion in being able to help people. So thank you very much for joining us tonight, and pass the video on and the replay to others that may be having some of the same issues. Thank you very much.